Hello everyone. Hope you might have enjoyed my first lecture on the basic concept of factor analysis. If there are any questions and queries, please feel free to ask. Today I will discuss the basic assumptions and some of the commonly used terminology in relation to factor analysis and how factor analysis is similar or different to some other statistics which are used for almost similar or same purpose. The students who have not actually viewed my first lecture, I would request to view that. But for those who are viewing this particular lecture for the first time, I would like to first revise that factor analysis is basically a set of techniques that are used to examine the interrelationship or the covariance among a larger set of variables with the purpose to identify subset of variables, clusters of variables to reduce the total number of variables in fewer dimensions. For more details, I would request that please see the first lecture, which deals with what we mean by factor analysis. But again, I would say that for this series of lectures, each and every lecture is interrelated with each other. So while viewing this lecture, it would be better you go to the first lecture and then view this, then it will be more helpful to understand the things that I am going to discuss in this lecture. So let us start with two basic assumptions of the factor analysis. I have taken these two assumptions from the book of Fructer, the factor analysis book on written by Fructer, which is very old book, but I still find it very interesting to understand the basic assumptions. The first basic assumption of factor analysis is that when we are working with a set of interrelated variables, we assume that there are some common factors running through it. And the score of an individual can be represented in terms of those latent reference factors. You would recall from the previous lecture that we analyzed four variables, four tests from intelligence and vocabulary comprehension, picture completion, and picture assembly. Those who have not seen, I would again recommend that go and see that, view that video. And after examining their interrelationship, we found that vocabulary and comprehension they are highly related. And on the other hand, picture completion and picture assembly they are highly related. We hypothesize that there are two common factors running through the set of four variables. One is verbal intelligence, which is the cause of the relationship among the two variables, that is vocabulary and comprehension. On the other hand, there is another common factor running through the variable, that is performance intelligence, and that is the underlying factor for the relationship between the non-verbal or performance test of picture completion and picture assembly. So this assumption says that first there are two parts of this. The first, that when we are working with a set of intercorrelated variables, the assumption is that there are some common factors underlying it. And if we know those common factors, then the individual scores can be represented in terms of these reference factors. In the next slide, I will explain this more clearly with one example. Related to these assumptions are some other aspects that we should know, that in factor analysis, the total variance is divided into three components. The common variance, specific variance, and error variance. This common and specific variance can be jointly labeled as true variance or the reliable variance. So this common plus specific is reliable variance or true variance, and the another component is error variance. You can recall that in analysis of variance, we also analyze the total variance, but it two parts, the true variance and the error variance. Here in factor analysis, this true variance is the common variance plus specific variance. What is common variance? The variance which is shared by all the variables. Try to recall the example that I have given in my previous lecture, the Spearman's two-factor theory. All the tests were having some overlap with each other. That overlapping portion is the common variance. So that variance which is shared by each and every variable. So if we represent all the variables in terms of circles, then this common variance will be that overlapping area of the circle which is going through all the circles. And a specific variance is that variance which is explained only and only by the given variable. So common variance is that variance which is explained by all the variables in the set. And a specific variance is that variance which is defined by a given variable in the set. And there are definitely some errors also. So in other words, as I discussed in the previous lecture, that the factor analysis aims to analyze the common variance, whereas the another related technique that I will discuss in this lecture itself is called principal component analysis, that analyzes the total variance. The total variance is analyzed by the principal component analysis, whereas factor analysis aims at analyzing the common variance. So one function of the factor analysis is to analyze the common variance. Why? To determine the number and source of common variance that explains the correlation between variables or among variables. For example, in the previous lecture, I just given the example that the performance intelligence and the verbal intelligence, these two variables, they are latent variables or factors. They are explaining the variance shared by all the four variables. So factor analysis is that technique which analyzes in true sense the common variance. Many authors, many people also consider principal component analysis as a technique of factor analysis, and in SPSS this is the default option. So while performing factor analysis using SPSS, most of us use principal component analysis and we say that we have done factor analysis. So It is similar to factor analysis, but principal component analysis analyzes not the common variance, it analyzes the total variance. Therefore, when you will perform the principal component analysis, it will extract as many factors as there are variables in the set. So if there are 20 variables, it will extract 20 factors. Why? Because to explain all the variance, we will need all the variables. But if we are performing factor analysis, we will arrive at fewer factors, not as many factors as there are the number of variables. Why? Because we are analyzing only the common variance. So those many factors which are explaining common variance are extracted. As I said earlier, another technique, that is principal component analysis, analyzes the total variance, not the common variance. So again, I am recapping this whole slide. The first assumption is that if there are a set of variables interrelated with each other, then we assume that there are some underlying common factors for their interrelationship. And if we know the reference factors or the common factors underlying those variables, then the individual's score can be represented in terms of those reference factors. And the purpose of the factor analysis is to analyze the common variance. If we are analyzing the total variance using a data reduction technique, then that technique is basically principal component analysis. Now, I will explain two terminologies here, the commonality and reliable variance. So this common variance, the variance which is shared by the set of variables, is also referred as commonality. And the sum of this common and specific variance is called reliable variance. The another assumption of the factor analysis is that if we know the number and nature of common factors underlying the set of interrelated variables, then the correlation between two variables, say variable 1 and 2 in this example, or in general terminology you can say variable j and k, variable I and j, you can use any term. So the correlation between two variables can be determined or can be accounted for by the nature and extent of their common factor loadings. This matrix, you do not see this row, the total matrix, and you do not see these columns. So this matrix is called, so the matrix before H square column and the matrix above this eigenvalues, this matrix is called factor structure matrix. So what is factor structure matrix? I will explain. Now you can see that there are some values like correlations, which is between plus minus 1. So these values are called factor loadings. So 0.7 is the factor loading of the variable or test 1. 0.4 is the factor loading of this variable 1 on the factor 3. So there are 4 factors and 4 variables. Now let us define this factor structure matrix. So what is factor structure matrix? It is a matrix, and matrix is defined by rows and columns. So it is a matrix in which the factors are represented in column and the variables are represented in rows, and the cell consists the values of factor loadings. So these cell values are factor loadings. And these factor loadings are basically the they are basically equivalent to the regression coefficients, but they represent the degree or magnitude of correlation between a given variable and the factor. So, point 7 is the amount of relationship between factor 1 and the variable 1. The variable 2 is not correlated with variable 1 because the factor loading is zero point 0. Variable 3 is having a very high correlation with the factor 1. So factor loading may be viewed like that value which represents the relationship of the given variable with the factor. So again, I would define factor structure matrix. It is a matrix of factor loadings in which factors are represented in columns and the variables or the tests are represented in rows. Now, see the whole matrix. Based on this factor matrix, we can compute or determine some other values. This is the first column is H square. Let us first go to the columns and understand what these columns are. So this H square is called commonality. So this is the common variance. So 0.74 is the common variance of the variable 1, the commonality of variable 1. 0.40 is the commonality or common variance of the variable 2, like this. How we arrive at this value? So it is simple. You square this zero point 0.7, this will be 0.49, 0 will be 0, zero point 0.4 it will be 0.16, so and 0.3 0.09. So 0.16 plus 0.09 will be 0.24 and 0.49, and when you will add it will come to 0.74. You can do it later on. While viewing the slide, you can pause this video at this stage and you can do the computation manually and check it. So what is H square or the commonality? Let us define. It is the sum of squared factor loadings, zero point 0.7 square plus zero point 0 square plus zero point 0.4 square plus zero point 0.3 square. So what is H square or commonality? It is the sum of factor loadings of a given variable, say variable 1, across the factors 1, 2, 3 and 4. So again I am repeating what is commonality or H square. It is the sum of squared factor loadings of a given variable across the factors. So say for example the variable 3, 0.8 square plus 0.1 square plus 0.5 square plus 0.0 square will be 0.90. So 0.90 is the commonality or H square value. And how it has been derived? By summing the squared factor loadings of the given variable, that is variable 3, across all the 4 factors. S square is the specific variance. H square is the common variance and S square is the specific variance. Generally, we derive this specific variance by the knowledge of reliable variance. Suppose we are having test 1, that is test of anxiety, and we know that the reliability of the test 1 is 0.86. So in the previous slide I said that reliable variance is the sum of the H square plus S square. 0.74 plus 0.12 is equal to 0.86. So if we know the reliable variance or the reliability, then we can get the value of specific variance. How? By subtracting the reliable variance. 0.86 minus 0.74 will be 0.12. 0.50 minus 0.40 will be 0.10. So, if we know the reliable variance, we can determine the specific variance. Because we are having the factor loadings, we can calculate the H square, and if Rj is given, then we can compute the S square by subtracting the reliable variance, the common variance from the reliable variance. And finally, the error variance. So the total variance is 1. And if reliable variance is 0.86, that is true variance is 0.86. So 1 minus 0.86 is the remaining variance, that is the error variance. So error variance is the value of the reliable variance subtracted from 1, that is the total variance. Likewise, so 1 minus zero point 0.5 is 0.50, 1 minus 0.95 is 0.05. And this I have left for your own practice. And here there are three unknowns. How would you calculate? Think for a minute. The first step will be to calculate the H square. 0.1 square is 1, zero point 0.3 square is 0.09, zero point 0.6 square 0.36, and zero point 0.7 square 0.49. So 0.49 plus 0.36 plus 0.09 plus 0.1. The sum of this will be the H square value. Once you have obtained the common variance, then subtract this common variance from the reliable variance. You will get this unknown. And this unknown will be obtained by subtracting the reliable variance from 1. So 1 minus 0.97 will be the value, 0.03 will be the error variance. Now there are some other unknowns listed here, and I have labeled this row as eigenvalues. So eigenvalues basically consist, or they tell the information. In eigenvalues, the information about the variance explained by a given factor is contained. So eigenvalue tells how much variance is explained by a given factor. It is, the information is there. We do the computation for converting this percentage variance, and I will tell you how the percentage is calculated. So what is eigenvalue? So eigenvalue is the sum of, so zero point 0.7 square plus 0.0 square plus 0.8 square plus 0.1 square. Again you are summing the squared factor loadings, but what is the difference? You are summing the squared factor loadings across variables. So let us define eigenvalues in this term. So what is eigenvalue? It is the sum of squared factor loadings of a given factor across variables. So 0.7 square plus 0.0 square plus 0.8 square plus 0.1 square will be the eigenvalue of factor 1. Similarly, 0.0 square plus 0.6 square plus 0.1 square plus 0.3 square. When you will sum, you will obtain a value. This value will be the eigenvalue of factor 2. So what is eigenvalue? Again I am repeating so that you can remember and understand that it is sum of the squared factor loadings of a given factor, say factor 1, across the variables, the 1, 2, 3, 4 variables. And again, to remove your confusion, what is H square or communality? It is sum of squared factor loadings across factors. So sum of squared factor loadings across factor is common variance, commonality H square, and sum of squared factor loadings across variable is eigenvalue. And when eigenvalue is divided by the total number of variables, it gives the proportion of variance explained by the given factor. And when you multiply this proportion by 100, it will tell you the value of the percent variance explained. So percent variance explained by a given factor is equal to eigenvalues divided by the total number of variables into 100. You will be wondering why I am saying that divided by the total number of variables. Basically, it is not the total number of variables. Basically, the formula is eigenvalues divided by maximum possible eigenvalue into 100. So, what will be the maximum factor loading? I said that this is correlation, so the maximum will be 1. It will not be higher than 1. So, suppose all the variables are having factor loading of 1. Then 1 square plus 1 square plus 1 square plus 1 square is will be 4. So fortunately, the sum of the maximum possible factor loading, squared factor loading, is always equal to the number of variables. So in some textbooks, you will find that the percent variance explained by a factor is defined as eigenvalues divided by number of variables into 100. But technically speaking, the percent variance explained by a factor is the obtained eigenvalue divided by, and obtained eigenvalue is the sum of squared factor loadings of a factor across variables. So obtained eigenvalues divided by the maximum possible eigenvalues, that will always be equal to the number of variables into 100 is the percent variance explained by the given factor. So in this slide we have learned few terminology. Factor structure matrix 1, factor loadings, that is the values that represent the relationship of a variable with the factor. Communality H square, which is the sum of squared factor loadings of a given variable across factor. Specific variance, reliable variance, error variance, and eigenvalue. Now, come to the second assumption. In second assumption, what we say that if we know the nature and extent, so if this factor structure matrix gives the nature and extent of the factor loading, we know the factor loading exactly. So if we know the factor loadings, then the assumption is that we can account for the correlation between any two variables. Suppose we want to know the correlation between variable 1 and 2, then we can compute this by the knowledge of these factor loadings. Now let me explain how. So if we want to know the correlation between variable 1 and 2, then you just multiply the two factor loadings, zero point 0.7 into 0.0 plus zero point 0 into 0.6, it will be 0, both will be 0, plus zero point 0.4 into 0.0, again it will be 0. So zero point 0.7 into 0 plus zero point 0 into 0.6 plus zero point 0.4 into 0.0 plus zero point 0.3 into 0.2. So this will be 0.06. All other products are 0. So the correlation between variable 1 and 2 is 0.06. Similarly, we can calculate the correlation between any two variables. Suppose you want to know the correlation between variable 1 and variable 4, then zero point 0.7 into 0.1 plus zero point 0 into 0.3 plus zero point 0.4 into zero point 0.6 plus zero point 0.3 into zero point 0.7 and then sum. So the correlation between two variables can be defined as the sum of the product of factor loadings of the given variables across factor. Suppose the given variables are 1 and 2, then what is the correlation of 1 and 2? It is the sum of the product of factor loadings of these two variables across the four factors. So you have now learned some of the basic terminology that will be used while discussing how to conduct factor analysis, how to interpret factor analysis. In the next slide, I have just summarized all these. Let us go one by one. So what is community? Amount of variance a variable shares with all other variables. This is the proportion of variance explained by the common factor. So how much the common factors are explaining the variance in a given variable is commonality. And it is the sum of squared factor loadings of a given variable across all the factors. Eigenvalue, it represents the total variance explained by each factor. And how it is computed? It is the sum of squared factor loadings of a given factor across all the variables that we have factor analyzed. Percentage of variance, the percentage of the total variance attributed to each factor, and it is equal to the obtained eigenvalue divided by maximum possible eigenvalue or the number of variables into 100. Factor loadings, the correlation between the variables and the factors. Factor matrix, it contains the factor loading of all the variables on all the factors. So it is a matrix of factor loadings in which the factors are represented in columns and variables are represented in rows. And another term that I have not discussed, factor scores. Factor scores are composite scores estimated for each respondent on the derived factors. So this is related to the assumption one, that if we know the factor structure matrix, then based on that factor structure matrix, we can calculate the factor scores or the composite scores for the given individual. This is basically there are different methods to obtain this factor score. One method is regression based approach. So if you consider this factor loading as regression coefficient, then the given score will be multiplied. So regression equation is generally represented as y is equal to uh, b1 x1 plus b2 x2 plus b3 x3. So the factor loading by the obtained score, you multiply, you will get the factor score of a factor for a given individual. So these are some common terminology that are used. Now I will move to how the factor analysis is similar or different from some other. Factor analysis is one statistical method or set of techniques that are used for data reduction purpose, reducing a set of larger variables into fewer factors or dimensions. But there are other techniques also. There are other multivariate techniques that can be used for data reduction. The two most commonly used techniques, there are others also. I am not going in that detail. The two most common techniques are principal component that I have already covered a little bit, and another is cluster analysis. These two techniques also reduce the number of variables in fewer dimensions. The principal components, those dimensions are called components. So principal component is a technique that reduces the total number of variables into fewer components, and cluster analysis is a technique that reduces the number of variables in fewer clusters. But both these techniques differ from factor analysis. They are used for data reduction purpose. So here I would like to emphasize that don't confuse that all the data reduction techniques are factor analysis. But the other way we are correct. Factor analysis is a type of data reduction technique, but all types of data reduction technique like principal component analysis or cluster analysis is not basically factor analysis. Let us first deal with the difference of the factor analysis and the cluster analysis. First difference is that factor analysis analyzes only the common variance, whereas like principal component analysis, cluster analysis also analyzes all the variance. Another difference is that in factor analysis, variance of a variable or a test is fraction. I have shown the mm, a bar dividing the total variance in common, specific, and error. So the variance of a variable or a test is fraction and distributed among several factors. So how much the different variables are having shared variance, common variance, how much the variables are having their own specific variance. So we fraction the variance of a variable and distribute it among several factors. On the other hand, cluster analysis assigns the total variance in an item or a test to the group. So the whole variable will go in one cluster. But in factor analysis, one variable may be highly related with one factor, but moderately or having low relation with the other. For example, you try to recall, or just I am showing you the previous slide. So this is factor analysis. Variable 1 is having a high relationship with factor 1, and it is also to some extent related. So variance of variable 1 is distributed across three factors. No variance is attributed to factor 2 here. But if we will perform cluster analysis, this variable will either go to factor cluster 1, or it will be assigned to cluster 2, or it will be assigned to cluster 3 or 4. We will not fraction the variance of a variable. But in factor analysis, in cluster analysis, the whole item is categorized in one cluster or the other cluster, whereas in factor analysis, the variance of a variable is fractioned, and the fraction of the variance is given to one factor or the other factor. Another difference is that the factor analysis is generally used to study the structure of the set of variables. For example, you have developed a test of personality and you want to know what is the structure of personality. Eysenck did a factor analysis on various items and he identified that personality is having three components. The structure of personality is three dimensional. One is extroversion, introversion dimension, and another is neuroticism, and the third one is psychoticism. So factor analysis is generally used when we are interested in knowing the structure of a set of variables or the test. On the other hand, cluster analysis is used for categorizing or grouping the variables. So the literal meaning of cluster is group of variables. So we try to identify which among the given set of variable, which subset of variables go together or cluster together. So whole variable will be in the one cluster. So one thing I would also like to add here, that cluster analysis can be used for categorizing variables as well as categorizing people. So you can categorize people on the basis of variables, or on the basis of variable scores, you can categorize the variables. I am giving one example of cluster analysis that we have done in one of our research paper which has been published in Current Psychology. Uh, this is the title of the paper, and I have reproduced the figure here to for demonstration purpose from my own research paper. In this, we administered positive negative affect schedule to assess the level of negative affectivity and positive affectivity in the individual. We also administered a depression scale and one anxiety scale which assessed the free floating or neurotic anxiety and trait anxiety. And then we tried to see whether people differ in terms of these psychological dimensions, that is negative effect, positive effect, definition. And we obtained that the whole sample of participants in this study can be clustered in three groups. You can see the three clusters are represented by three lines. In first cluster, we observe that there are people who are having very low negative score, low depression, very low anxiety, and they are very happy people. We label this group of people as normal, healthy individuals. On the other hand, there are few peoples in our sample who are having very high negative effect, but low positive effect means they were not having the hedonic capacity, they were characterized by anhedonia. They were also high on depression and high on the anxiety. We refer this group or cluster of peoples as mixed anxiety depression group. And we obtained a third group of people who were moderately high on negative, positive affect and depression. These are in the normal range, and but very high on the two anxiety variable. So we labeled this cluster as anxious people. So this is example, and we are categorizing the people. Similarly, you can use this cluster analysis technique. So people cannot be fractioned and distributed. One individual will either go in this group or this group or this group. One individual will not fall in two groups. Similarly, if we are categorizing variables using cluster analysis, the variable will go either in one cluster or in the other cluster. But in factor analysis, one variable may have loadings, factor loadings on different factors. It may be having very high loading on one factor and very nominal or near zero loading on other factors, but the variance of variable is fractioned and is distributed across the factors. But in cluster analysis, the whole variable is clustered in one group or the other group. So this is the difference between cluster analysis and factor analysis. If there are any ambiguity in my expression, please feel free to ask on my YouTube channel. I would try to answer those questions and queries. Another technique which is similar to factor analysis is PCA, the principal component analysis. But principal component analysis is also conceptually different from factor analysis, as I said earlier while discussing the basic assumption. So I will not discuss much. So one difference is that factor analysis produces factors, and principal component analysis gives us components. But the most important difference is the second. The factor analysis analyzes only the variance shared among the variables, that is the common variance, without error or unique variance. Whereas principal component analysis analyzes all the variance. So when I will discuss the method of doing principal component or factor analysis, I will tell you in detail. In principal component analysis, the commonality is assumed to be 1. Why 1? Because we are analyzing the total variance. But in factor analysis, commonality is always less than 1. For example, one estimate of commonality in factor analysis is squared multiple correlation. So we compute the multiple correlation of all the variables, taking one variable as dependent and all other variables as independent or predictors, and then we square that multiple correlation and we attribute that multiple correlation as the estimate of the commonality or the common variance. So again repeating, factor analysis produces factors, whereas component analysis, PCA, produces components. Factor analysis analyzes only the common variance, whereas principal component analysis, it analyzes the total variance. The commonality is 1. And another basic important difference is that factor analysis and principal component analysis both gives to a latent variable, and latent variables are represented in circle I discussed in my previous lecture. You can go to my channel and see that, view that lecture. Uh, the factor analysis yields a latent variable, but this latent variable is reflective latent variable that I have discussed in my earlier class. Latent reflective reflective latent variable is that variable in which the latent variable is assumed to cause variations in the observed variables, whereas principal component analysis yields a formative latent variable, means it assumes that the latent variable is formed by the variable. So the components can be considered as aggregate of the variables. Sum of these variables will be equal to the latent variables. Why? Because the total variance has been analyzed. So this is the difference between factor analysis and principal component analysis. So principal component analysis and cluster analysis, they are also data reduction technique. Cluster analysis is also data reduction technique, but cluster analysis and principal component analysis, they differ from factor analysis. Sorry. So I would recap and end this lecture. Today, factor analysis, it is a data reduction tool, but remember that it is one of the data reduction tool among several like principal component and cluster analysis. Factor analysis removes the redundancy or duplication from a set of correlated variables. It represents the correlated variables with a smaller set of derived variables. Those derived variables are called latent variables or factors. And factors are formed that are relatively independent of one another. So the variables within a factor are highly related with each other, but low related with variables of the other factors. And in factor analysis, we deal with two types of variables, the latent variables that are called factors and the observed variables that are really factor analyzed. Thank you very much for your patience listening. We will see you soon, and in the next lecture I would cover how to conduct factor analysis. Thank you very much. Hope you all are safe and healthy during this corona crisis. I pray God for your good health. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you very much. Very soon I will see you all in my next lecture, how to conduct factor analysis.